the audience. Oh my God, I'm missing out on work today. Or, how will this apply for me? Or this probably won't even be any good to me, wasting my time. People are going through all these different thoughts. So you can preempt a lot of that. Okay, and you can then you'll start picking up on that energy, etc. So you can bring those people into the fold, and that's where, by challenging the audience up front, you would have taken care of most of that anyhow. But now you're establishing your credibility. Now, of course, if you're speaking to people that already know you and they know your credibility, you don't have to spend much time on your story. If they don't, you need to quickly establish what gives you the right to speak on this subject. That's pretty much, jot that down. What gives you the right to speak on this subject? Why are you going to tell them that? Because in the back of their mind, they're going to be thinking that. I was in a seminar about 2 years ago in Texas. One of the cities in Texas is a wealth seminar, and I didn't get a lot of value out of it. This guy was supposed to be fantastic, and also because I'm a promoter, I'm always looking for talent, and some people said, you want to listen to this guy, you might want to bring him to Australia, etc. And I got very little out of the seminar. Because while I'm sitting there, and I might be a harsh judge because I'm a speaker as well, but no, I like to learn. I'm always very open-minded, so I'm looking for different things. But I sat there the whole presentation, thinking, why should I listen to this guy? Not being rude, I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to say, I need to know why I should listen to him. And he never addressed that up front. And so I'm thinking there, what credibility does he have? I mean, he mentioned he owns some car washes, but, I'm not getting, why I should, if I knew clearly up front if he had credibility. So I was questioning his credibility. Because I'm going to listen to a guy that I want to know, has he produced results and is there a benefit from that? So because he never made that clear, I got very little value out of his presentation. If he had said that, I've listed companies and worth $1 billion and I've done this and that, and clearly established his credibility, I could go, I'm not listening to this guy. He's obviously done some pretty amazing things, and I could actually then learn from that. Does that make sense? Because he hadn't established that, I'm trying to think, well, what's he really done? What can I learn from this guy? Has he done anything that is going to be a benefit to me? Who's following what I'm saying there? Okay, so that's when you say, well, Jimmy, what if I haven't actually, I don't actually have a lot of credibility? You start with whatever credibility you have. There's something that, whatever topic you're talking about, there's something that you have been good at, okay? Or something you've succeeded at to a certain level, and just be honest about that. So if it might be something, let's say you're doing a presentation on a product or service that you're selling. Your credibility could be as simply as, one, you've achieved a certain result, maybe of sales, or a result might be, this product, I've used this product and I think it's fantastic, this is what it's done for me. I was skeptical in the beginning. I've heard all the people say, yeah, it's really good. I'm thinking, yeah, as if, I've heard that about a lot of products, but it wasn't until what I found is that when I started to use it, I was like, my God, this is actually as good as they say it is. And I started using, this is what I noticed, this is what improved my performance, this happened here, etc., etc. And now I'm just happy to tell anyone about it because I think it's great. And if you don't have it, you're missing out on something. Who's following what I'm saying here? So now you're just established, your credibility might be just, you're a user of a product and you believe in it and you're sharing that with others. As simple as that. Making sense? So you've got to work out, now it's going to vary depending on what you're talking about. Okay, so now, next step, jot this down. Number 8 is you're connecting with the audience. You're now delivering the content of your presentation. The content of your presentation. Would you like me to share one little skill with you that will make your presentation so much easier to do? Would you like that? Okay. It's on the PowerPoint there. Simple thing. Teach something, give the audience a break, tell them to stop, turn to the person next to you and take questions as a speaker. So you'll notice what I do in my presentation. It's up to you whether you do this, but many presenters I have that I've seen that don't do this, they really lose the audience. We're like children, we can only pay attention for so long. Some presenters you might be interested in, but they don't give you a break. They go for 2 hours, non-stop giving you information, and you're like, you can't keep up, you just need a break. So I teach people from a psychology viewpoint. So what you can do, you might teach for 20 minutes. Teach for 20 minutes, have the person, turn the person next to you, just teach the person next to you what I've just taught you, and then I'll take questions. Make sense? If you do this in your presentation, it'll break it up. It'll give you time to have a break. You can go and check your notes, see what you've got to cover next, and it gives people a chance to digest and engage. Write faster. So as you write that, I want you to understand, what I'm covering there. So obviously you have this to go back to, but these finer distinctions, you're going to have to practice them. But when you do a presentation, then be your review and go back and coach yourself. And you look at these steps and go, I forgot the interaction. I forgot the get them to turn to the person next to you and break up the presentation. And then you go, next time I can remember that, and you'll start to do it. And then once you start to do it, it becomes a habit, and it's unconscious competence. Okay, so now for every presentation, I don't have to sit down and go, I've got to remember these 8 steps. Hope I don't forget any. I just automatically do it. Occasionally I might forget something, but generally it's just a habit. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm teaching for 20 minutes, say, or 15 minutes. I'm teaching X amount of content, but I'm not going to go for an hour, because people can only take so much in. I want them to learn. I just don't want them to be information. They go away, got information, but don't do anything with it. I mean, that's what many presentations are like, and it's not valuable. So what I'm doing is I teach something, and you see what I do in the presentation. Here's what I want you to do. Turn to the person next to you. Teach them what I've just taught you. Then the other person teach back what you've taught, and I'll walk around the room and see who hasn't been listening. Something to that effect. Or then I'll take questions after that. Because what you don't want is someone putting their hand up, asking a question in the middle of your presentation. Because now if you accept that question, you're giving control back to the audience. And if you do that once, then throughout the whole audience, people will be asking questions and they're in control. You as the speaker control the audience. If you lose control, you've lost your posture. So if someone wants to ask a question and questions are good, I'll simply say, if I see someone put their hand up, I'll say, I'll take questions in a moment, or I'll take questions at the end. Let me just teach this first, and then I'll open up for questions. So I'll teach something, so turn to the person next to you, teach the person what I've just taught, the other person teach back what they've just thought they've taught, and then I'll take some questions, as an example. That gives them 2 or 3 minutes. The audience can be talking to each other. What they're now doing is, this is also a very valuable teaching skill. The way that we learn, the best way to learn is to teach. Do you realise that? It's the most effective way to learn, because at school we're sitting there passively taking notes, but at school we're not really learning, we're memorising. And most things you'll learn at school you forgot by now, is it true? Most exams you sat for, if you had to resit the exam 12 months later without studying, you'd fail. Because you haven't learnt it. It's been memorised and not effective. So that is not learning. What is learning? If I teach you something, then I get you to teach it to the person next to you, your brain has to go, shit, I should have been listening better. Okay, I better check my notes. Or you got to go, you have to now, your brain has to now take that and communicate that. You're now communicating, and you have to now make sense of it. And you attempt to communicate it. And by doing that, you start to learn better, and the other person can teach back things how they've learnt, and then you can learn off them as well. But it's becoming part of you. You're actually learning. It's into your nervous system. And you're going to get a much better experience from that. It's embedded into you. Far more effective method of educating. Okay? And you'll see that at any of our seminars, that certainly I will do that. But you'll notice when some presenters don't do that, you're sitting there going, I wish I could get a break. They go, there might be great information, you might be loving it, but it's like, there's only so much you can take in you, because you're taking some information, but you want to quickly think about, how's that going to relate on, take action here. You just need that little break to let the information settle in, think about it, and then you're ready for some more. Making sense? Okay. So each of these little steps are critical, but you embed them into a presentation, it's just making your life so much easier. Because then you're teaching, you don't have to go, I've got to teach for 3 hours. It's like you're teaching for 20 minutes. You focus on that 20 minutes, you're giving as much as you can, you're good on that, and then you go, okay, the audience have a break. You get to sit down, you can review your notes, what you want to cover next. You can think about that, etc. Gives you a break, and gives the audience a break. Who thinks that's a very handy skill to have? Okay, and many presenters don't do that. And you'll find your audience will get so much more out of it. Okay, so let's move on. Number 9, the close. So now you're coming to the end of your presentation. You're building the audience up, you're educating, you're adding value, and it comes to the end of the presentation, your close, what you're there for. What's the end outcome you want your audience to achieve or take action with? So this will depend upon the type of the presentation. Many presentations you might be doing, you might be educating people, or you might be a selling presentation. So the outcome of a selling presentation at the end is to generate sales, for instance, if you're selling a product or service. So you're building people up. The best way to sell is to give majority content, okay, sell without selling, educate people, then you have to sell less. You'll see many selling presentations, they're all just trying to sell you something, they're not trying to educate you, there's no value in it, so they get less sales. So if you are doing a selling presentation, which in most cases you will be doing in a corporate world or even as a speaker, jot this rule down. It should be 90% content, 10% selling max. And your motto should be, the more I educate, the less I have to sell. If you educate someone about the benefits of the product or service and give them value, then they're already sold. If you've shown them what's in it for them and why it's going to improve their life, they're already sold. They already want it. Okay? So educate more. So you see how many sales presentations you go to, they just focus on features, they just focus on selling you, and it's like, well, what's in it for me? If they just stop trying to sell you and just tell you what's in it for you, here's the benefits, here's the results, this is why I'm excited about it, then people can make their decision. Okay? Now, sometimes you may not be selling a product or service, but you always will be selling. You're selling an idea, maybe. You're selling an idea, you just want to get your team more committed to taking action. If it's a corporate presentation, you're selling something. You might be selling your idea. If you do this, this, and this, you will get a better result. I need you to get out there and work harder. You're still selling something. You're selling an idea. You're selling a concept, or you're selling a product, or you're selling a service. Anything you're doing is selling something. So my outcome for today is I'm selling an idea. I'm selling you the idea that if you have an open mind, you take lots of notes, you really put the effort into this, and you follow this syntax, that you can walk out of here and be an effective public speaker. And as a result, that'll give you a significant benefit. Does it make sense? So I'm selling you on that idea to do that. If you're willing to do that, you're going to improve what you do as far as effectiveness. Making sense? Okay, so you're delivering. So it depends on the presentation, but you have a particular outcome, and you should start your presentation beforehand. And what's the outcome you want people to achieve at the end of your presentation? So if all you know in your presentation is your outcome, you will subconsciously stick to that. You'll subconsciously stick to that because you'll be guided by that. What's my outcome for the audience? What do I want them to achieve? And that's what you really want to be clear about, and you'll stick to that. Okay, so 1 or 2 clear outcomes. So that's your close. You'll do a close. If it's a selling presentation, you'll highlight the price of your products, etc., explain the benefits of it. You might hand out an order form, etc., and you'll go through the close and you'll articulate that as much as possible. But even with the closing, which now goes more into sales and marketing, which we won't spend time on today, we'll be covering that tomorrow if you want to learn about sales and marketing. But the best way to sell, once again, is to ask questions. So you incorporate a whole close should actually be a list of particular questions intertwined into that, so you can help people get the benefit out of it and understand why they should participate. So you're selling them on the idea or concept they should take action with your product or service, etc. Okay. So even if you're selling your team on why they should implement this new strategy into the company, you're still selling them on that idea. You're still trying to get them to take action with it. Number 10 is your presentation's finished, but really your presentation hasn't finished. What you should do, here's what a mistake a lot of speakers make. They finish the presentation, they disappear. Or they think they're above the audience. You may have noticed some presenters, they think they're high and mighty, they're above the audience, they're not real, and it's very frustrating. I find that is not an effective way to be. You should love your audience, and you should make yourself available at the end of the presentation to be there where people can ask you questions. That's what I think you should do. And people appreciate that. So say, look, I'll be down the back of the room, I'll be available for X amount of minutes, feel free to come and ask me any questions. Because some people have questions they don't want to ask in front of the whole group, but they'd love to ask one-on-one. And it gives them that opportunity. Or they might just want to say hi and meet you, etc. and you're adding more value to your presentation by being there, and you're also saying to your audience, I actually do care about you, I'm not just here and I'm out of here, I'll actually stick around and help you and answer any of your questions, and you're adding more value. Making sense? So you're being real, you're being genuine, you're being at their level, and you're there to sincerely help people. And that will come through in your presentation. If you don't really give a rip and you just you don't really care and you want to get out there as quickly as possible, people will sense that, okay? And they're not going to respect you for that. Then you've got to question, why would you, so the questions will be, if you have to present on something you don't really believe in, then you've got to question and say, well, if I don't really believe in something, why am I presenting it? Okay, because it's not really going to come across. People will sense that. People aren't stupid. Especially in this culture, is it true? Australians have very good bullshit detectors. You want to jot that down? Okay. BS detectors. So, of course, it's natural. Don't try and BS people. People will see that in body language. They'll pick up on that. Australians have a very strong BS detectors. Okay. America, not so strong. They'll believe a lot of things. Okay. So, but in Australia and New Zealand, we're very, very clear about that. No offense to my American friends. You make sense? So that's pretty much your syntax. You have now, if you can document that, that is your blueprint for creating a presentation.